second. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining the Greater Delray Beach Chamber of Commerce in our weekly webinar. As always, we encourage you to ask questions at the end, but if for some reason you cannot make it through the entirety of the presentation or you join us late, please know that this is recorded and uploaded to our Facebook page, our YouTube channel, as well as our Chamber website underneath the webinars tabs. Today, I'm super excited to introduce Nancy Curtin from KBK Wealth Management, and I'm going to go ahead and give you just a little bit of her background before I let her get started on the topic today. So Nancy is an honors graduate of Columbia University and a certified financial planner professional. With more than 25 years of financial and business consulting experience, Nancy has developed a reputation for providing excellent client service with her holistic approach to wealth management, financial planning, and outstanding client care. I feel like this is really, really true just from the couple of conversations I've had with her. I back her 100%. Nancy is a specialist in retirement planning, wealth preservation, and estate planning. She enjoys helping her clients establish and achieve their financial goals by helping them create and implement realistic financial strategies that are targeted and effective. Nancy is accessible and actively promotes open client communication. As a registered representative of Commonwealth Financial Network, Nancy is committed to ongoing professional development and education. In addition to holding several professional licenses and certifications, she has also completed executive management seminars and courses at Columbia University Business School. Nancy is an active member of the Financial Planning Association and a professional group devoted to advancing the value of financial planning. She is a frequent speaker and loves to share knowledge that will help people to thrive. Nancy and her husband, Eric, are healthy and active and enjoy the great outdoors and all it has to offer. She's recently moved here from New York, and I've heard that she's loving it. So at this time, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you, Nancy, and let you get started.
Great. Thank you so much, Angel. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for attending today. And what we're going to be talking about today are some of the basics. I put together this PowerPoint to try to help you, in the face of COVID with some financial recovery and some real action steps that you can take. I'm a believer of taking action and having a plan in order to fulfill the goals that you have. And I'm more than happy to help you along the way as much as I possibly can. So let me get started with the PowerPoint. If you don't mind here, I'll just share my screen and let's roll. So again, financial recovery, these are action steps for your solid financial future. Oops. So this financial recovery is going to take some planning. And according to a Fidelity survey, only 18% of Americans have a financial plan in place. And some of the reasons stated are, I don't know where to start. I don't have enough assets. I feel too far behind for it to make a difference, and I haven't gotten to it yet. I'm sure there are other reasons, and if you yourself do not have a financial plan, you probably have some reasoning for it, but hopefully I can help you to take a look at some of these things and kind of get beyond it so we can take some action for you. So let's tackle some of these excuses. I don't know where to start. Well, here and now is a good place. Whatever you can do, whatever steps you can take, we're going to be able to try to help you to do that today. And obviously everybody's different. Every individual has certain circumstances. So when I do financial planning, I do it for that individual, obviously. So I'm not trying to create a plan for the person to conform around the plan. The plan is created to be conformed around the person. Otherwise, what's the point? The other excuse I've heard, I don't have enough assets. Well, if you have a bank account, a business, an IRA, or a 401k, you have assets. Another excuse, I feel too far behind for it to make a difference. So Sometimes I hear this and I realize because money is such an emotional topic for most of us, it goes much deeply rooted than many of us really realize. Sometimes we can get kind of down if things aren't looking really the way we want them to look. And one of the things I would like to do is to help you to overcome that. We're going to take the emotion out of the equation. Numbers don't lie, which is why I love them. The facts are going to be the facts, and whatever they are, there's no judgment about them. We need to know our numbers so that we can make some kind of adjustments and plans around that. And action steps can bring results to your financial life. Another excuse, I haven't gotten to it yet. It just becomes financial planning seems to be one of those things that's put on the back burner. Like, I'm going to start working out. I'm going to stop eating ice cream. But think of financial planning as self-care. And one of the things that I'd like to try to instill in you today is, the concept of being your own best friend. And if you're your own best friend, you want to help yourself. Okay? And that's something that I hope to be able to do today for you. Why do I need a plan? Well, the COVID crisis has exposed cracks in our financial lives. This is an opportunity to make some much needed changes to your current way of thinking about your money life. Many people have little or no cash savings. This is very scary when something happens to you or us, all of us, and there's no money to pay bills. The job stopped, something happened, my business is stalled out, and I don't have extra money. That's caused financial panic to a lot of people. It could have been avoided by having a cash cushion. Many people had to go into debt to pay basic bills, putting a light bill on a credit card and things like that. That's the sort of thing that I'd like to try to help you out of so you don't have to live paycheck to paycheck. 55% of Americans spend every single penny they make, and this translates into no savings. Only 35% of Americans polled had $2,000 in cash available for an emergency, according to the Fidelity survey. And $2,000 isn't really that much money, but it is when your kids are hungry or your bill is, your Verizon bill is due or something has to get paid. So hopefully I can help you to learn how to build some cash reserves, okay, through this seminar and other teachings I have. So without a savings and spending plan, and you're like, what is that? It's just another word, a better phrase for a budget. Because budget, the word budget, most people they sort of, what's a budget? I don't have a budget. The savings and spending plan is all about what you bring in and what you have to put out to support yourself. So without this, you can't possibly know what you're spending and what categories you're spending in. And you can't know what you should be saving. How much should I put away? What should I be doing? You're basically operating in the dark. So today, it's time to come into the light. And it's time for a change in personal and business spending habits. Your money has been running you. It's time for you to be in charge of your money, and I'm going to help you do that. It's time to get serious about having a peaceful financial life. How much anxiety, and just ask yourself this and just pause for a moment, how much anxiety does your financial life cause? Aren't you tired of this? And hopefully today we can make some changes. So your savings and spending plan or budget is ground zero for your financial plan. Why is that? Because as I explained on the last slide, you really can't know what you're spending. You can't know what you should be saving unless you have hard numbers in front of you. And I know sometimes, especially people that aren't great with finances or really feel a little uncomfortable around numbers, they don't want to look. It's sort of like, God, it's scary. But once you do look and once you are able to assess, it really brings, that knowledge will bring some peace. Even if it's not the knowledge that you really want to hear about, it's something that's going to help you on the path, and I can help you with that. So where do I start? Well, financial software will create accurate numbers. I know a lot of people do their finances on Excel. Things get missed that way. So if you have financial software that's downloading on a regular basis, you won't miss any of those expenses, okay? Because it's going to capture everything from your debit or credit cards. So for personal finances, I recommend a Quicken or a Mint. I don't have any software to sell. I just want to help you use the thing that's the best for you. My younger clients love Mint. They can do it on their phone. It's really easy. You can do Quicken on your phone as well. Quicken has more reports and has a little more to it. It's got a little more, it's a bit more robust. So it's going to depend on what you like. So what you're going to do is once you install and set up your software, you're going to download it once a week to keep it current and relevant, and you're going to look at the numbers. Your expenses, as I mentioned, are going to be tracked 100%. You can then make intelligent and informed savings and spending plans for your hard-earned money. Just pause for a moment and think about how hard we all work for our money. We want it to be working for us. So for business finances, I always recommend a QuickBooks, or maybe your business has another software that you like. It doesn't really matter what software it is. What matters is that it's easy for you to use and you understand it. You can download that every few days or even daily for a business. And you need to know and understand your business expenses. How much cash is in the business? How much does the business owe? And what you are spending and where. So living beneath your means, what does that mean? Well, this is something that people that have savings and assets understand how to do. So back to that Fidelity survey that we talked about, where 55% of people just spent every single penny they made, they're living at their means. And many people, if you have credit card debt or you can't quite meet all your bills every month, you're living above your means. So my goal is to help you live beneath your means. What does that translate into? It translates into having cash, having investments, having some savings and some retirement. And that is my wish for everybody that I speak with. So it's a commitment. You're going to commit to living beneath your means. To have assets, you have to gather them. Most of us are never going to win the lottery. Most of us are never going to get a giant inheritance. So gathering assets happens over time with consistency. And you can start by cutting back on things you don't really need. That you're going to get from looking at your numbers from your accounting software. You might be surprised what you spend pre-COVID days eating out or doing, having entertainment or clothing or whatever each of us likes to buy. And again, in this time when some of us have cut back on our spending because of COVID, we really could take a look at what were we spending 6 months ago and why. And then when we start to live without it in these COVID times, I can look at things and wonder why did I need that? Now this is going to take discipline and it's going to take continuity. In order to do that, you got to be committed. So you're going to take a serious assessment of what you're spending and where. And then look at the whys of the spending habit. Why did I buy that? Why did I feel the need to do that? No judgment here. Do not judge yourself. You're just looking at things, okay? So money, again, carries a lot of emotional weight for most of us. Just take the emotion out of it. These are looking at the numbers. If you can live 5% beneath your means, that 5% can go towards savings and investment. And this is how wealth is built. So aim to increase the percentage that you live beneath your means on an ongoing basis. Setting, some cash savings goals, then investment saving goal is a pathway to making this happen. And of course, it's going to take some sacrifice now for some future financial peace. If you have assets, remember this, you have options. And I think a lot of us saw this during the COVID crisis when our businesses and our employment was affected. So how can I plan to live beneath my means? Make this a way of life. Decide now that you will have cash, you will have investments, you will own a home outright. It starts here, today. Action is driven by heartfelt conviction. Decide in advance that you will get out and stay out of debt. Once you know the numbers on your spending from the financial software program, you can do a deep dive into the spending areas that you can cut. So the thinking is twofold. Make some sacrifice now for a nice financial future ahead, And having cash savings means not going into debt to pay bills. So many of us have to look at our top line. How much income am I bringing in? Is my income basically so much lower than it really should be? You know, understanding your value as a business owner, understanding your value as a worker. Am I being paid properly for my education level and my skills level? And this is something that you can assess. You can do kind of comparisons if you have a job on salary comparisons online. You can take a look at your business and run comparables. So earning more than you spend, it may require you to increase your income. So how can I make this happen? Well, for business owners, start assessing your business income. Do a line by line look at what clients are paying you and in what categories. Are you spending time with clients that are not profitable? What additional value can you deliver to clients that clients are willing to pay for? Define your client base and then go after it. You may have to turn down business that's unprofitable for a season while you implement this plan, and that can be a little bit painful, but if you're focused and you know exactly who your client is and that's the client you're going after, I've seen it over and over that this is a very successful way to build your business. So understand and be able to clearly explain your value proposition in a sentence or two and continuously hone your talents. For business owners, you need to fully understand your business expenses. So take the time on a monthly basis to review your profit and loss statement, what the business takes in, what are the expenses for my business? Why do we have these expenses and can any of them be adjusted? Know the numbers on your balance sheet. So your balance sheet tells you, what's my cash? What is my debt? What are my assets? So these are the kinds of things that as a business owner, you do need to know your numbers. If there's anything you can renegotiate, especially now during this crisis time, maybe your rent you can renegotiate, maybe you can renegotiate a phone contract, do so. If you don't ask for it, you won't get it. And I'm always a fan of just making the inquiry, always be professional and kind about it, but make the inquiry. So the cash in the business should be separate from your personal cash. A business should have its own checking account, and if appropriate, its own savings account. Make a plan to pay yourself. Over and over, I've seen business owners that put all the profits right back in the business without paying themselves, either a salary or putting away money into a retirement plan. Your business, you should have set up a retirement plan for a way to pay yourself regularly, number one, and number two, a retirement plan for yourself and if possible for your employees as well. How do I implement this plan? Stage one. Once you have the hard numbers in front of you, sit down with a goals-based mindset. So you could track this on a spreadsheet. You could put, these are my expenses, this is the income, this is the goal of the income I'd like to have by quarter or by month, and this is where I'd like to cut my expenses. Having those numbers on a spreadsheet and being able to look at them really makes a difference because, again, from the beginning, numbers don't lie. So plan to save enough cash to cover between 3 and 4 months of living expenses. Many of us see the pressing need for this now and during this pandemic. So for your business, plan for the cash to cover extra expenses. A cash savings account is required. You cannot invest this money into the markets because you might need it for living or for business expenses, which is great when the markets are up, but when they're down, as we saw in March, you would not have wanted to pull money out of the market. So having that cash is something that is a necessity for each and every one of us and for all of our businesses. So the technique that I've sort of developed is be your own banker. And what this is you have a cash savings, that is your bank. You borrow this money from yourself for emergencies and you pay it back. This takes a lot of discipline and it takes time to get it right. There'll be some stumbles along the way where you didn't quite pay it back and you just have to work with it. But having this philosophy in your mind so that you never have to borrow money again and pay somebody else interest for it is something that with discipline you can do it. So let's talk about debt. Debt is one of the things that hang over our heads and keep us from having a peaceful financial life. So becoming free of personal debt is really realizing true financial freedom. You'll need a detailed plan, you need discipline, and you will need focus. Start with high interest credit cards. It applies to business debt as well. Call your creditors, ask them to lower your interest rates. You don't know if they will do it until you call them and ask them. Again, similar to the renegotiation of your business expenses. Start by paying the highest credit card first, the one with the highest interest rate. And then once you are finished paying that, you apply that payment to the next highest card and just roll down it. And then you're going to start saving the money that you've been putting toward your debt and adding it to your cash reserves. Wouldn't you rather have the money than paying some high interest card? That's where I want the thinking to change today. You commit to yourself that you will never get into credit card debt ever again because you will be borrowing the money from yourself. Becoming free of business debt. It takes the pressure off of your business and off of you. You need to plan for fluctuating income within a business by having those cash reserves. Call your creditors and ask them to lower your interest rates on any business loans. Tackle your business debt head on. Know the why of the business borrowing. If you're constantly in debt, you have to ask if the business is viable. And those are hard questions to ask, but I can help you with that. Commit to a debt-free business on an ongoing basis. Profitability, that is, being able to cover expenses on a monthly basis and paying yourself regularly and putting money away, are going to be the goal of having your business. So once you're out of debt and you have sufficient cash savings and you're breathing a little easier, because you will breathe a little easier, you will now be ready to add more advanced planning aspects. And I am a certified financial planner, so I'm qualified to plan in pretty much any aspect of financial planning. I do a lot of estate planning, tax planning, and more advanced and sophisticated planning. But until this first pass of getting out of debt, having enough cash, and getting yourself stabilized is done, this advanced planning is not going to be something that you'll be able to accomplish. But let's say you get to that stage. These are some of the areas that you'll be looking at, and I can help you with all of these. So life insurance, is your family covered? If something happens to you, is your business covered? If something happens, if you have partners, are they covered? Disability insurance, how will you pay your bills if you become disabled? How will the business pay its bills and carry on? Long-term care plan, how will you pay for care as you age? Having a will drawn up. Estate planning is a vital piece of financial planning. How will your estate be distributed? Who will care for your children if no guardianship agreement is in place? So I would say those of you with young children, that would be something that I would actually look into sooner rather than later. Possibly having a living revocable trust drawn up. And what this does, it protects the estate from probate, and it can be used to direct your disposition of assets the way you want it to. Funding your retirement. What plans do you have set up as a retirement savings vehicle? An IRA, for example. Does your business have a retirement plan in place? A 401k and SEP IRA. These are two types of plans. There are many others. Have you given any thought as to when you may be able to realistically retire? Have you set a numbers goal for that amount of money that you'd be comfortable with in order to retire? Buying a home. This will require a 20% cash down payment to avoid mortgage insurance, which is what you want because you want to be able to afford that home. And you will need, and this is again outside of your emergency savings, should also plan, because you will need it, another 15% for closing costs, repairs, new furniture, and you will be very happy that you have saved that cushion. Funding an education. What's your plan for your child's education. You have a formal plan set up, such as a 529 savings plan. And again, these are all financial planning topics that are extremely important. Again, until the basics are covered, these are usually secondary. So once you have a plan in place, what do we need to do? Well, you need to update it because life changes. A financial plan is never one and done. Financial planning is done in stages. It's done with short goal spans, long goal spans, and it needs to be very flexible because we're human beings and things change with us. So we need our plan that's flexible. We need a plan that works for us, and that is a big part of the goal that I have when I work with people in financial planning. Got to work for you. Otherwise, it won't happen. So someone gets married, someone gets divorced, you get a new baby in the family, a death, an inheritance. What do I do with my inheritance? What do I put it to? A bonus at work, moving to a different state because laws vary state by state, changes to your health, changing jobs, or your retirement. And every one of these life trigger events do need your financial plan will need to be updated. And it will also need to be updated, if you get a raise or some other smaller figures, things that happen within our lives. Other triggers, changes in federal and state tax laws. We have to always keep our eye on the tax code because really financial planning, the bottom line is you got to know the tax code. Changes in your asset value. Have they grown? Have they shrunk? Changes in goals. Aging. Buying a home. Changes to your business or the sale of your business. And if you're not sure how these changes will affect your financial plan, work with a CFP professional, somebody that really knows what they're doing around financial planning to be able to help you. So having a financial plan in place brings peace of mind for you and the people that you love. Financial planning, again, as I mentioned, is done in stages. So keep it realistic. Keep it focused around you and your family and what your needs are. Your plan should remain flexible because this is for your life, not anybody else's. There are no cookie cutter financial plans. Commit to the ongoing discipline of fulfilling your plan because, again, it's a piece of self-care when you care for your finances and become your own best friend by staying out of debt and having a plan. So let this become a way of life for you rather than a quick fix. Ask for help. Fixing broken finances can be very overwhelming. And celebrate each fulfilled goal, no matter how small. So that is it for my presentation today. This is my contact information. Please feel free to email me, call, and contact me with any questions. Thank you so much for attending today. I really appreciate it.
Alrighty, I'm back. Thank you so much. That was very informative. I feel like I feel a little calmer now because that's kind of stuff that's a little bit overwhelming. But you definitely broke it down pretty nicely. I was kind of shocked about that 3 to 4 months. I don't know, it might sound silly, but to me, I thought maybe 1 to 2 months was what you needed to kind of have. But I guess you're right. When something like this happens, that's probably a safer number. I'm sure you want to get it higher if you can, but
sure.
that kind of shocked me.
The more cushion you have, nobody really realized how long we were going to be in quarantine.
Right.
So this happened in March. It's almost mid-June. And many people are still out of work. Many people still have not gotten their businesses open. Many people still have not been able to reach the income that they were enjoying before the COVID crisis. So not having to put money on a credit card and having that extra cash cushion, I like to sleep well at night.
Right.
And I want that for everybody in my audience.
Well, I actually have a couple of questions for you too that I think might help our viewers a little bit. So my first question that I have, and feel free, anybody who's watching, to please submit a question that you have in the chat. We would love to ask it to Nancy here live. And if you don't, of course, we'll share her contact information after the fact.
Sure.
That way you can reach out a little more privately. But my first question is, what do I do if I have to borrow money from my 401k or other retirement plan? I'm sure that's happened a lot recently. And that's, just kind of curious.
Yeah. So borrowing money from your 401k, I think of it as robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Right.
Now, because of the COVID crisis, the government is allowed borrowing from 401k plans without a penalty. Okay, so you can there's a couple different ways to look at 401ks. Either you can borrow the money or you can take a distribution. A 401k plan should be the last resort, because in my experience, I have found that when people borrow from their retirement, it's very, very difficult to pay it back. But if you have to do that, you need to make a commitment to pay that money back, because that's for your future. You don't want to spend today what you are going to need when you get older. And that's the whole type of mindset I'm trying to help people with, is to stop the borrowing, stop the debting.
So it's something you really want to avoid at all costs, basically.
If you can avoid it, it is the last resort. And again, if you have that cash savings, and maybe you want to put 4 months of savings away, maybe your goal is going to be 4 to 5 months, so that I never touch my retirement.
Right.
It's just the last thing that you touch, because again, I find it very hard for people to replenish it, and they get very far behind. So if you had taken money out of your retirement in March, the market was way down, you would have missed the recovery of the markets over the last 2 months. So you've lost investment opportunity, and you've lost, you took your money out when the market was down. So it's just not a good plan. If you have to do it, consult your tax professional, but try to avoid it.
Okay. So in light of like COVID, what if my business has fallen off the rails during the COVID crisis? What are a couple of ways that you could get back on track, especially for like the little guys, maybe?
Sure. Yeah, my heart really goes out to, hair salons, restaurants, people that depend on foot traffic, a candle store, somebody that's got, a business that they've put their heart and soul and probably life savings into, and now there are no customers. So we're now in June, it's June 9th, 2020, and we are doing stages of reopening. So within, for example, Delray Beach, where we are, there are some store openings, and there are rules around it, how many customers you can have in the store and things like that. But during this time, social media and trying to sell, work your business online is really going to be the wave of the future anyway, instead of bricks and mortar. So it's really going to be a case-by-case basis for what type of business do you have. And then you got to ask this question. It's a hard one, but how viable is my business going forward? If we don't fully reopen, let's say in 9 months, let's say there's no vaccine until early next year, can I survive these next 6 to 8 months? And if the answer is no, it may be time to rethink what I'm doing within my business. Hard questions, I know.
Yeah, no, that is a hard question. And I think especially if, they've just started growing their business and it's, just a couple years old, that's their baby. And it's a really hard decision to make to walk away from it, I'm sure.
Yes.
So
but if it's running you and it's going to run you into debt.
Right. It's not, yeah.
And the stress levels that it will cause, you have to ask those hard questions. And that is why I am encouraging you, business owners, get your numbers and look at where your sources of revenue are from. Are they going to come back in the next 6 months if people cannot get into your store? Or do I need to do something online and find another way to make income? These are questions we all have to ask ourselves these questions.
Okay. All right. So I guess the last question for me is, and I think many people can relate to this one. I've never been good with finances. So how do I get a new mindset around money and finances? And honestly, I think like that commitment to just put it away, that's hard when you have that. I mean, I know you went over that in the presentation, but like, what are some steps to really get in that zone?
Yeah. So what a good step is starting here with this talk that we're having together, because I think of these as more, I mean, it's a seminar, yes, but this is a chat. This is how I would speak to you if you were my client and we were talking one-on-one. Get to the heart of it. Like, what do you want? Do you want a house? Do you want to retire early? What do you want? And start thinking about that. Start putting that in writing. Put pen to paper, or put it into a spreadsheet. What are some of the things that you want in life? Well, I want to own my own home and I want it paid off before I retire. Depending on I just pulled that one out of a hat, but that's a good one. And I have several clients on this path, by the way, where I have them paying off their full mortgage before they retire. Wow. So there's that mortgage expense is just not going to be there in retirement. That's a big goal that I like to see people fulfill. So in order to do that, you need to get that property in the first place. What is that going to take? Well, it's going to take a 20% down payment. It's going to take that extra 15% for the closing costs and for my furniture, and maybe there needs a new boiler or the air conditioner's a little beat up or whatever. You're going to need that money. So getting that together according to your goals. What's driving you? What's the desire of your heart? Well, I don't want to pay rent anymore. I want to own my own home. That's a big one. So figure out what your goals are and how you can meet them. That's really what I tell people. Face it head on.
That's a good idea. I would say that's kind of, it's like kind of clicking for me right now, because I'm definitely going through some of those things. And yeah, I guess putting it down on paper really helps you see it, and it might help you to be like, oh, I don't really need this extra. I guess it could be small things too, right? Like just an extra coffee here or there. Or
they add up.
Yeah.
And again, if you're using this financial software like a Quicken or a Mint, even a Mint on your phone, and you're logging everything in, through your debit card or your credit card, you're going to know what you're spending. And you're going to look at the end of the month. We'll use the coffee example. We'll look at the end of the month. I spent $200 on coffee.
Yeah.
At the end of the month, I didn't do that, but somebody could do that easily.
Right. Well, they add up. Especially
I lived in Manhattan for 30-something years. Spending $200 a month on coffee there is, everybody does it.
Yeah.
But that $200 could be invested for you. It could go into your house saving money. It could go into your cash savings money. It could go for money to save for something that you really want. So figuring out your goals, getting the numbers on paper, and then working with the numbers to achieve those goals, that is what will drive you.
So would you say, and I'm sure in the long run, it's definitely better to just take a percentage out and put it away. But to start, would you say that it might be helpful that every time you go to buy that coffee, or every time you go to buy that thing that you really don't need, to just pocket that and put it away as like a starting point?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question, Angel. So this is the way that humans work. Don't deprive me forever, because otherwise I'm going to blow up.
Right.
I love people. I love humans. We're all just, we're all wired to, like, we need a little reward. So instead of a coffee a day at $2 or $3 a day, or whatever it is that you spend, how about once a week? How about just once a week, and you make it a great coffee, and that's your Friday treat? That way you're not deprived. The rest of the week, and again, we're using coffee. It could be whatever anybody else does. Maybe, I found when I did my finances, it was groceries, because I like to cook, and it was this, but I've cut back. I looked at it because I looked at the numbers and was a little surprised at what I was spending.
Interesting, because I'm sorry to interject, but that's interesting that you bring that up, because that was one of my shifts as far as budgeting for my household, is instead of eating out so much, I was like, let me start buying the groceries, because I feel like I'm saving. But if I'm really thinking about it, there are definitely things that I could cut back on, because that bill is still pretty high.
Yeah, like, do you need to eat salmon every night? I mean, not that you are, but I'm just saying, like, look, nobody's standing over you with a tapper saying, don't do that, don't spend that. Stand over yourself.
Right.
Say, you know what, I want this house more than I want this 5 coffees a week, this salmon, this purse, this whatever it is. We all have something. And I'm going to have a house. I'm going to own my own home, and I'm going to pay it off before retirement. In order to do that, I got to get the house, and I need the down payment. How am I going to get it? Yeah, I don't need this that badly. Framed in that context, it starts to change a little bit. The thinking around it starts to change. What do you want more?
Right.
So what are the priorities? Your money goes where your priorities are. Money is a very loaded topic, no pun intended, but it really is. It's loaded. It's like, where's my real life going? Well, it's going wherever my money is, and you can pretty much follow the money. So this is what I found.
Interesting. All right. I have to say, I feel pretty motivated after this. I feel like I'm gonna go sit down with a
Yeah,
pen and
Angel.
paper, and I'm gonna get to it. But I'm gonna give
That's
it
my
a couple.
goal. That's
I'm
my
gonna give,
goal.
yeah. No, yeah. I really do feel like it feels a little more manageable now. Because all of those topics that you talk about, or that you spoke about, and just the first getting out of debt is one thing, and then buying a house, what if you have to go through a divorce or a funeral or anything along those lines. I think, or at least for me, when I think about those topics, I tend to think about them all together in one big ball, not in tiny manageable increments. And I guess it makes sense that if you can't get past one, you're not really going to be able to succeed at setting yourself up to go through the other ones.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And there are ways, again, as I outlined in the presentation, to start small. Like, what can I start with?
Yeah.
What spending can I cut back on? How can I really tackle my debt and make a commitment to myself, and to my family members, that we're going to stay out of debt. We're going to pay for what we need with the money we make every month, and we're going to be putting money away. So I think you did get it. I think you did get
I did. I was
point of the presentation. It's not a big, scary monster topic, financial planning. It's bite-sized pieces. And that is how successful financial planning is done, in bites, bits and bites. And that is how I work, and that my clients do well with it if they follow the, kind of prescription that I lay out for them.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I'm sure, or I can only speak for myself, but I'm sure there are other people that it's like one of those appointments that you're scared to go to, like, whether it's a doctor's appointment or something else. But I'm sure once you're there, you leave and you feel just so much more relaxed. And that's like, honestly, what I feel after listening to this presentation. I feel just like everything's much more manageable.
It is manageable. And listen, knowledge is power. Using that doctor's example, somebody may have like a little pain in their side or a little palpitation or whatever. Would you rather spend months having sleepless nights worrying about this palpitation, or would you rather just go to the doctor, get it examined, and hear the news?
Right.
I think it's always better to know.
Yeah.
So having some examination of our finances, to me, knowledge is power. Then I get something to work with. Okay, maybe there's a lot of debt. Yeah, maybe my income doesn't look so great. I need to work on that. But at least I know, so I can sit with it and try to make a plan.
All right, well, I'm going to give it just a couple more minutes for any of our attendees who would like to ask a question. If you would, please type it in the Q&A. And then while I'm doing that, I'm going to take a look at my other screen, because we are live on Facebook right now. Hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
If you have a question, please go ahead and type it. And I'm going to take a second to see if anybody has anything to ask.
Fantastic. Yeah, take advantage. I'm here to help you today and going forward.
All right, so it looks like we don't have any questions going on the live feed. If you guys do have
Oh,
any,
here we go. Here's
we
one.
have one. Sorry, I jumped the gun. So from one of our viewers today, what assets do you not place in a revocable trust?
Very good financial planning question. And what's the person's name who asked?
We're
First name.
we're Miss Baker. We'll say Miss Baker.
Well, Ms. Baker, thank you for asking that question. So this depends on what is in your estate. What is the purpose of this? Was it an irrevocable trust or a revocable trust? I can't see the question.
Revocable trust.
Yeah, so a revocable trust is the tax filing on a revocable trust is done under the grantor's name. So if I have a revocable trust in my name, Nancy Curtin, the revocable trust of Nancy Curtin, those assets are not out of my estate, and any income on those assets will go under my social security number, because I don't need a separate tax ID number for a revocable trust, right? You could have one, but you don't need it. So it really depends on what is the purpose, what are the terms of the trust, what does the trust document say? Does it outline how a house will be used? So I have a house. So my house goes into the revocable trust, and I'm going to put a life estate in it for my husband so that my children will get the house at the end. There's a purpose and a reason for it. Don't do anything without a reason. So understand the reasons of putting these assets in the trust. Is the trust document directing those assets? If so, it should go into the trust.
All right, great question, great question. And I'm gonna do one more look. All right, so if we don't have any more questions today, I think I'm gonna go ahead and close this out. Again, please note that this will be uploaded to, it's going live right now, but you'll be able to access it afterwards on the Chamber Facebook page, our YouTube channel, and then as well as the Chamber website underneath the webinar tab. Thank you so much, Nancy, for joining us today, for talking. It was very, very insightful. And like I said, I feel very motivated to like put pen to paper. So please join us next week if you can to listen in on our webinar to learn about the skills of the future. We have self-discovery trainers Susan and Caroline who will discuss the new set of skills that will be needed as the information age comes to an end. So next Tuesday at 12:30, please join us for our weekly webinar. Again, if you have any questions about today's information, we will be providing Nancy's direct contact info, so please reach out. She's super resourceful.
I'm here.
She's here. She's very responsive.
Yeah, I want to help you guys.
So thank you again.
Thank you so much, Angel. Thank you, everybody, for attending. I really appreciate it. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.